And back in the village, we can grab more of these to refill our stock just a bit. We can also completely ignore Akira for now, since he will not be all that useful in here. And welcome to Cube's dungeon. There's a lot of black and white going on. And if you enter from the other house, you will eventually end up on that side. So both the stairs in here just take you back to the beginning. There is no combat here. However, there is another cube, who claims to be the intelligence of Cube. Strength is unnecessary. Lateral thinking and calm composure will guide your mind to a new level. This chair will connect us from here on out. Speak to the chair and he will show up and kind of give you a very vague hint about what you need to be doing to advance. So the chair, first test lies ahead. Rearrange the red floor, first width and height, and then both at last. Yeah, I know, but yeah. So anyway, we have this red floor here. It looks perfectly normal until you try to walk on it. At which point you will notice, my left and right are reversed. So you can't see it, but basically, when you're on this red tile here, if you press left, you go right, and if you press right, you go left. So that's all there is to that. If you go down one of the doors, you end up back where you came from. So this second one here, instead of reversing the left and right, it reverses the up and down. And I should notice that the reversed controls only apply to when you're standing directly on the tile. When you move off of the tile to the black and gray, your movement reverts to the way it should be. And so now we have this one final little set here. And, your joypad for this is rotated 90 degrees clockwise. So right now, I'm hitting down. This would be left. This would be up. And this would be right. So this floor also loops, kind of infinitely. If we kept walking, we'd just keep hitting the same exact scenery over and over and over. But if you end up in a room like this, from the top floor, it's still the same. Your controls are still janky. And you try the other door. But because this place loops, kind of hard to tell. And now we're back here. The Chamber of Mirrors. Follow your image in the mirrors and the white sphere will show you the way. So anyway, you have a mirror that shows you which way to go, but you have to think of it like you're looking at a mirror image, because you are. So when it says right, you look right. When it faces you like that, you're still in the mirror, so you got to go up. When it goes that way, you go left, and then up again. If you'd messed up, that block wouldn't clear whenever you got, whenever you touched it, and you have to start over. Number 2, one of the reflections guides you forward, the other will lead you astray. So you've got 2 there, you got one on the left and one on the right. Well, a lot of people may be tempted to do the right one first, so let's follow the right one. Whoops. Gotta restart anyway. Because I accidentally walked one step too far forward there. That's it, right. Right. Down. Left. Down. And notice we can't go any further. So obviously we need to go to we need to look at the one on the left there. So we go there, go up, go right, go up, and now we can get out of here. On to the next chair. And it tells us trust not these mirrors. So the mirrors are going to face 3 separate directions, and all we've got to do is go the one that's not shown. They will be doing quite a bit of shuffling. And pressing ahead is not only the answer. Sometimes you have to go back to go forward. With this puzzle, all we need to do is follow the arrows. Go in the direction the arrows send you. Notice that one reversed, so now we need to go back. And then go back again. And now we're being pointed back up. And notice there's, there's that. The Corridor of Time. This puzzle is about time. At its terminus you shall ascend. This is the final test. Here too shall the spheres guide. In time you will find understanding. Now that is, I guess you could consider that a pun. Because it doesn't mean you will understand if you just poke around enough at it. It will understand if you think in the ways of time, which is to think like a clock. Because let's see what happens when you pick a direction here. It shunts you off kind of in that direction. And if we pick the same sphere again, we just end up back here. We can go to the other spheres. Except that one just takes us to this, which warps us back to the start. Come on. So, how do you get past this one? Well, think like a clock. Go clockwise. In other words, don't pick the same one over and over and over. We start up here. And we need to travel to all 4 spots kind of in this order. Then we do the lower left. Then we do the upper right, which sends us back to the same spot we've been before. Only now it warps us to this gate. At the end of it, we get the 17 diode. And we are warped back to Hash's cabin. So, let's go ahead and equip his ultimate weapon here. Frankly, I mean, by ultimate weapon, there are only like 2 total weapons he can actually equip. And one of them is a freaking bowling ball, if you'd actually bothered to bring it out here. However, we're not done with the Dungeon of Intelligence yet, because much like there was an aerial ring in Pogo's dungeon, there is another piece of aerial armor inside cubes. Luckily, you saw there was not exactly a whole lot of turf to cover in Cube's dungeon. Unfortunately, it only shows up once you grab once you grab that diode, and once you grab that diode, you get kicked out, so you gotta go back. I would not mind a cube-only sequel, by the way. A sequel based solely around cube and puzzles like that. I can't say I'd mind. But yeah. I mean, Anonymous, you already brought up that these dungeons are going to take 4 hours on their own, and you actually aren't far off on that mark. The dungeons can take 4 to 5 hours to clear just on their own. Depending on how thick the enemies decide to actually be that day. But on the other hand, this actually means that for once, one of these chapters actually has a decent amount of length to it. So yeah, we're not going to be finishing this tonight. Not by a long shot. Yep. So you have the 7 dungeons, and then you have the whole audio bit to go through. And just keep in mind that how much grinding you really needed to get to this point, too. So this chapter, all in all, will take a person playing it 10 to 11 hours. More, I mean, depending on how much grinding you didn't do during the original bits, and how much you're actually willing to put up with. Hey, CT. I am doing okay. And a birthday meal for a family member. Those are always some level of fun, depending on how much you like the family member. Also, note that rock. We will be back for that rock. I will let you guess why, although you probably should be able to figure out what that rock has to do with anything. don't want to grease it all the way yet, but I want to get somewhere with it. Japanese restaurant. Was it the type of Japanese restaurant where you actually get to see the chef standing behind a grill and they put on the little showboat display? The little where they clang all the instruments together and flip them up in the air. Those are always fairly amusing. Okay. I'm not a fan of sushi myself. Tried it a couple times and it just never seemed to agree much with me. So anyway, to find the thing we are looking for, now the cube has gotten his prize from here. There it is. That little robot right there is holding on to a piece of armor. There we go. And he was not happy with us taking the diode because he was kind of in charge of it. But luckily he is, normally if you're not buffed up like I am, he actually can pose a threat. He can actually pump out some decent damage. But, he's kind of overmatched right now. He doesn't have quite as many hit points as he probably should for a Guardian. You wrote a custom Quiplash 2 episode. And it thought the diode was sealed away, but it was not. And he drops the aerial helm. So, the aerial helm, once again, has the petrify immunity. Which, again, we need all these little things. So we don't need one person wearing all 4 pieces of the aerial set. But it does have a decent amount of defense to it. Slightly lower IQ, but for Pogo that doesn't matter a ton. Let's get out of here now. Go. And now, the one that tries to scare the wits out of you. We're gonna go head to Sundown's dungeon. Which you may remember earlier, we saw the horse running off in between the trees. So we need to find that again. I know roughly where it is. But I'm pretty sure if you leave the screen and come back, the horse will return. So even if you've seen it before, it'll show up again. I'm pretty sure seaweed and rice is vegan. There it is. And the horse trots off, so because that is curious to us, and because it's going to lead us into a fight, apparently. But yeah, we're essentially just going to play a game of follow that horse. Bet that's something you didn't think you'd hear me say today. So as you advance, the horse will kind of give you a clue as to where which fall area you need to go to next. And it went that away. And we have Sundown's Dungeon. Sundown's Dungeon likes to worry you more than a little bit. Because you hear that? You're not on a step timer, you're on a timer. And the longer you spend in here, the more bells are gonna ring. And the more bells ring, the closer you get to, well, it's seeming like something evil is gonna happen. There's bell 2. But in the meantime, not a lot of enemies. And just to get to the end of this dungeon, you may also notice with every bell it gets slightly darker and hard to actually see. But to get to the end of the dungeon, all we gotta do is take the leftmost exit, and we reach the ultimate weapon, a .44 Magnum. So now we've got his best weapon. I did equip the other 3. So now, normally you would take all these tolls as a sign to get out because, oh god, something's going to happen at 8 bells, just like it did in this chapter. However, we're gonna wait it out because there are 5 other treasures hidden in here, which I will admit the treasures are not, you know, grand, massive treasures or anything, but still there's no reason to skip them. Plus the fact that if we stick around long enough, it gets really freaking dark. Come on. Come on. Ring bells ring. And now it is nearly pitch black in here. And again, if this was Sundown by himself, because you could technically enter this dungeon with Sundown by himself, we wouldn't be very smart to, but you could. Now it gets black. And now enemies show up for the first time in this dungeon. They look kind of like masks, at least from this view. Let's say we look delicious. And now we're in this with 4 enemies called Jaggy Eggs. Now, like I said, if you went in here by yourself, they would be kind of threatening. As it is, though, not really. They got some attacks they can hit, but for the most part, they're not super threatening. I think they have about 500 to 600 hit points each. And that's about the worst attack they can dish out. At least that I've ever seen. Okay, 384 hit points each. So they're gonna start falling pretty soon. Okay, that's new. Never actually seen them do that before. But then again, I'm not exactly too concerned by that because, let's face it, if they hit anybody besides Sundown with that, it would not be significant hit points. I think they are a palette swap of one of the Captain Square enemies, yeah. And why would we care to fight these? I mean, they're slightly annoying to fight. They do have a decent chunk of defense and hit points, which makes them, you know, a pain to actually put up with. But are they worth it? Yeah, they're worth it. They are worth the fight. Because we get another piece of the aerial set from them. The third piece we can get like this. The third piece we can get from the dungeons out of 5 total. The other 2 are not in the dungeons. No, he gets that later, doesn't he? I didn't put an aerial piece in there. Put it in Pogo? Yeah. So now that we have done that, this whole dungeon here is pretty much just free to explore. Well, this is the real finale. It's just going to be split up into 2 parts. And yes, I get the irony, or whatever you actually want to call that in this. Okay, so now if I am not mistaken, I don't believe I am. I am. And that just takes us back to where we came. But yeah, we can wander around in this dungeon as much as we want to because there are no enemies. Once you get past the jaggy eggs, all the enemies are gone. What was Odio's actual goal? To basically cause despair. Basically, he wants to wipe out humanity, and he thinks the best way to do it is to kind of kill off their heroes. In a sense, yeah. In a sense, he is indeed much akin to Junko. I think that's all of them. Yeah, I got them. Okay. Okay, if Junko is just another form of Odio, I had to ask, and forgive me for asking, where are the rest of the characters? And now we are going to do some running because it is time. But just time to forget completely how to get out of here. Okay, I don't know why everything goes back to Danganronpa for you. I really don't. So, for this part, we're going to want Akira on the team. So we will send Masaru back to the dungeon. It's really, with the combination of Sundown, Pogo, and Cube, we're pretty set. We're pretty well set. And we're going to need the aerial glove there. And just to do things, he's going to need as much IQ as possible. Just so he doesn't die too horribly too often. And yeah, we're going to need to move him. Give him as much protection as possible.